you would always want to be on the side of having good credit.
Do you think it pays to have good credit? Separating or showing a difference between real credit repair services, like, you and I, what we do on an everyday basis. We don't care to be labeled as scams or get into any type of legal issues. I could be wrong, but just listening to me and you talk here, I don't think none of us got time for that. So, that goes back to some of these misleading things that people fall for every single day on the internet. Man, I get on my phone at night after work and I'm just scrolling on YouTube and TikTok. And of course, by me being in the credit repair industry, I see all of this garbage because I'm searching credit repair, on
Right.
Google and just things like that, and looking at my own website and whatever. So all of these things, just based on my search history, is unfortunately popping up on my phone. And
Right.
I think this was 2 nights ago, around 8 or 8:15 at night, and some of these social media so-called influencers, that's when they start posting their garbage around the evenings because they know that people are getting off work, and
Right.
the first thing they do when they go and eat dinner, they go to bed, they shower, they start scrolling on YouTube and TikTok to fall asleep. So I'm assuming that's why they post later in the evenings, but they post these short clips, man, and they go viral. It's like 10 to 12 seconds of people just saying, do this to fix your credit in 24
Right.
hours, do this. And it is guaranteed that everything that's negative is going to be swept off of your credit within 3 days. And within one 10-second clip, they have violated like every single thing that's
Yeah.
in CROA. It's just crazy, man. I'm like, bro, they violated more laws within 10 seconds than I violated my whole entire years
Yeah.
and years
Yeah.
in business, which I haven't violated anything. But, they've done more than me in 10 years. I mean, 10 seconds than what I've done in years as far
Right.
as breaking the law. So, what is your opinion on that, man? Is just, I just can't believe how consumers fall for this. But then when they contact us and they email us or they sign up and then they want us to call them, they want to make sure that we're not a scam, which, look, I'm not here to say people are crazy just to make sure they're not getting scammed. They should ask questions because that is very important. However,
Right.
it gets to a certain point to where I can't feel sorry for people anymore. Like I had a lady sign up, I want to say this was 3 months ago, and she literally wanted to do a background check on Sturgis Credit Repair, find out who the owner was, found my name somewhere on the website, I guess. And then, she done read up on me and looked up social media and all this nonsense just to make sure that I'm a real person, which I agree with that. Do your research. But her thing was she signed up for a service around tax season early this year, and she paid $3,500 for two repossessions to be deleted, and I believe it was a bankruptcy and a few charge off credit cards. But she paid $3,500 up front. And the lady that was working on her credit was also a so-called tax professional. And she promised that if 3,500 out of her tax refund would, pay her tax services, all of those negative things would be deleted within 14 days. And I'm like, bruh, how do people believe this stuff? And my wife actually gets on me sometimes. She's like, well, Chris, think about it. You do credit repair for a living. You know some of this stuff is garbage and you know
Right.
better. And I can get that, but it gets to a certain point. I'm like, look, if I did not own Sturgis Credit Repair and I was never in the credit repair industry, and let's just say I still just worked my day job at a dealership or whatever the case was, I would not fall for that. Just does not.
Yeah.
There would be no such thing as bad credit if I can fix my credit in 24 hours or 7 days or 14
Yeah.
days, and then you're paying thousands of dollars up front for
A
something
lot
that
of money.
sounds crazy. I'm like, if
Yeah.
you can do that, you may as well just pay your bills, which paying something that's charged off isn't going to fix your credit. But I mean,
Right.
what is your opinion on some of these misleading things, man? Do you think it's hurting us? Should we just ignore it and continue to put our content out to kind of debunk some of those myths? But, I just feel like people don't want to hear the truth, in my opinion.
Well, you're right. They don't want to hear the truth. I do think there's a ton of misinformation out there. I think social media
is really the quick fix, capital of the universe. You can pretty much find a quick fix, a hack for literally anything on social media. One thing that I tell my clients, once they become clients and I can have a thorough phone conversation or whatever the case may be, I just tell them, I say, hey, this is the process. First off, a credit bureau has 30 days just to respond to our dispute, our request, whatever the case may be. And then I
Right.
tell them that's just a response. That doesn't mean they're going to solve your problem. That's
Right.
just and a response could definitely be, "Hey, we got your request and we're working on it. We'll get back to you." So now they're
Right.
in compliance, and that basically does nothing to help your client. So I try to outline that for my customers. I don't advertise any of the quick fix type of stuff. I do some posting on social media like everybody else, and word of mouth and referrals and things like that. But yeah, I don't know that it can hurt, the quick fix stuff. I don't know that it could hurt our industry any more than it already does. I think in any industry, no matter how, I guess, law abiding or honest you
Yep.
are as a practitioner, as a service provider, you're always going to have people that want to do a background check. I mean, there might be people that want to do background checks on their doctors before the doctor
Yeah. Look, I
heals
get
them
it.
or
Yeah.
fixes their teeth or what, or, the
Absolutely.
dentist. I mean, so
Yep.
those people, honestly, politely, you're not going to probably overcome things like that. But I think it's important to spread the word, spread how your organization, my organization, follows the laws, the truth. And I think also, as far as building credibility, I tell my clients, once they become clients, I know a lot of people would probably argue against this, but I tell them, hey man, if you got a question, call me. You got a
Yep.
question, email me.
There
If
you
I don't
go.
know the answer, and I try to talk to them like I'm talking to a friend and I'm just giving them some advice about things that I know, which in this case
Right.
is repair. I think that lends credibility. I think if you're honest with people, if a service provider is just like, hey, yeah, don't call me, I'll reach out to you, then you kind of lose credibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's out there. I think it's something that we have to overcome, and I think people like the example that you used, you're probably not gonna, you know, uh, you're not going to change people like that, unfortunately. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
out there. It's out there.
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of changing people, something new that's in the credit repair industry is the do-it-yourself AI features and things like that. And a lot of people are using Chat GPT, and which gives a lot of helpful information. I use Chat GPT and AI every day for business improvements and just brainstorming ideas. So there's people in the industry that is stating that people are fixing their credit themselves and they're buying doing it, do it yourself kits and things like that. And they're almost blaming the consumer for doing that or shaming them for doing that, which I think is extremely wrong. At the end of the day, credit repair is a service for people who do not have time to do this themselves. If somebody has something negative on their credit and they just don't have, first of all, if they have bad credit, they're probably going through some type of finance situation. They had a pay cut. I just had a guy sign up yesterday and he's like, I think he's 120 grand off a pay cut from what he was making last year, and he missed a few payments this year. So it's mainly due to some people just want to save money versus paying a professional. So same thing with lawyers. There are some people who don't have money to buy a lawyer to or hire a lawyer to defend them in court. So I'm never going to be that credit repair specialist that shame people for wanting to find methods to repair their own credit, because that's none of my business. If you want to do it
Right.
yourself and you have the time to do it yourself, buy these do it yourself kits or buy, the Chat GPT app and look at, plug your credit report in that, and maybe that can help you find some errors. And you're going to have to do all the work yourself. You're going to have to send this to the credit bureaus. You're going to have to follow up with them. You're going to have to see how they verified it, and things of that nature. But of course, Chat GPT can help you with that as well. So there's people that's like, oh, well, if everyone's just buying AI stuff and looking at Chat GPT, what is a credit repair specialist going to do? And I argue this. A service is a service at the end of the day. If food prices today were free and restaurants doubled their prices, just hear me out. If all groceries in Walmart right now were free and restaurants doubled their pricing, I can almost promise you there will be restaurants fully booked still in America today, especially if you go to vacation cities like Miami or Vegas or Los Angeles, New York. There will still be steakhouses where people will be spending $200 on a steak, or a steak date just for the luxury experience. So
Right.
going back to credit repair, there's so many people who just don't have the time to look at their credit reports, look at some of this stuff, study some of this stuff. Some people don't have the time to look into Chat GPT. So, I don't care if people are like, oh, there's these new AI things that's coming out and it's helping people with their credit. And some people argue that it's just some of the AI responses are misleading or it's not as good as a human specialist looking at it. What is your opinion on that? Do you think this is something that's going to hurt the credit repair industry just because there's do-it-yourself kits that's out there that people may be selling, or there's Chat GPT AI apps that's out in the world that can help people with their own credit report? Because at the end of the day, without those apps, keep in mind, if people do not have the money to hire a professional, they would already be studying ways to repair their own credit even before Chat GPT and AI apps and things like that existed. People were still working on their credit themselves. So what is your opinion on that? Do you think the industry is being taken over and everyone's panicking? Is that a real thing?
I don't think AI would replace the need for a competent credit repair professional.
There you go.
Like you said, it is a service. You know, at the end of the day, there's probably different reasons as to why someone hires any service provider. Mowing the lawn, we've talked about that, is it's no different than credit repair. Does your average person, do they have the time to study and educate themselves about credit repair? Do they have the understanding of how the laws work, the process works for filing a dispute? Do they want to, go to the post office and mail a letter? Do they have the time to do that? A lot of people probably don't.
Right.
So I think AI might be a tool for some people. I don't see that eliminating a competent and ethical credit repair organization altogether. I don't see that happening. I use AI in my credit repair business as well as some other aspects of, personal and professional needs. It's a tool. At the end of the day, it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's not 100%. It's not foolproof. I think it can get someone a very good head start that maybe doesn't know about credit repair.
Hmm.
But I think in the end of the day, um, most folks probably don't have the time or the interest or the willpower or the discipline to do
Yep.
all this on their own. And what happens, how often is someone going to be able to go back to refer to Chat GPT for, okay, I need a second round of disputes, or
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
this response from the bureau or from a creditor. What does this mean? Uh,
Exactly.
the other thing is too is just kind of a unusual thing, but ChatGPT is free to an extent. But once you start using it more and more, you kind of cap your bandwidth, and then you have to pay
Yep.
for it. So then you have to say to yourself, well, if I have to pay $30 a month for ChatGPT, or I could pay a actual credit repair company, $59 a month, or whatever the fee is, you got to kind of do the math there. But no, to answer your question, I don't think AI is going to overtake our industry. I think it's a tool. I think someone has done a very good job of creating a niche market for the DIY
Hmm.
folks. I offer some DIY products because I know some people maybe they don't want me to have access to their personal information, their
That's
social
another good point.
address. So
Yeah.
I kind of give folks different options. I have some of my ebooks, my paperback book has some templates in there, some letters on kind of how to and step by step. I also offer some of that on the website. I also offer a hybrid, like we can have a video call or a phone call.
Oh, wow.
I can kind of tell you kind of what to do. Maybe it's a little more thorough than just, you
Dang.
reading an ebook, or I do the full service. So I think
That's
there's some
neat.
value. Yeah, there's value in DIY if
Absolutely.
someone has the brain power and the bandwidth and the time to do it. God bless them. But yeah, I don't think AI is gonna, probably eliminate the industry altogether. No.
Stirgus Credit Repair. Stirgus Credit Repair. If you want a new house, call us. If you need